Namaste, and welcome to this Asana Video Manual. My name is McGraw.
And my name is Bob Smith.
And we are thrilled to bring to you this particular video series that's based on our Asana Photo Manual. Enjoy. And welcome back as we continue with this Yoga Video Manual. We're excited today to share with you some focus in the core of the body. We want to strengthen the front of the core, the back of the core, the sides of the core, the shoulder core, the neck core, the hip core. So let's come on into the practice. As we start, let's shift to an all fours position, down onto your hands and your knees. And with it, allow your shoulders to be directly over your wrists and your hip to be directly over your knee. As such, we're going to move through cat and cow, isolating the trunk. Exhale and flex through the trunk, heads down, tails down. And then inhale to lengthen and lift, tail, head and eye gazes upward. Exhale as you round through the trunk, stretching the back. And then inhale to lengthen and lift, head and eye gaze is upward. Again, like this, exhaling into your cat position. And then inhale, come on back up into cow. As you're able, you might pick up the pace that way, like this. And doing so working in your own best way and the best timing. So not as fast or as slow as Bob or I, but feeling your way through the whole spine. And the last 3 times. And then from here, shift your way back with your hips towards your heels and the arms reach forward. Third eye's down to the ground. In your prayer position, as you're here, allow yourself a moment centering, feeling the effect through the core of the body. And just one more breath. Then as you're able, draw your way back up through an all fours position. And in it, let's do neither cat nor cow. Instead, lift your chest and let the shoulders slide down the back. Feel from your head to your tail a neutral tabletop. And as such, keep that as we work to challenge the core. From here, lift up your left leg, flexing your left heel. Press back through the left heel. Keep your 2 hips evenly square. And as you do, consider reaching your right arm forward, right thumbs up, so right shoulder can slide down the back. Holding steady and strong with it, as you're able, you might consider challenging yourself by lifting up your right foot. And take a moment to stabilize that core as you do so. And one more breath here. Then when you release from the position, come back down through all fours and circle your hips off the ribs in one direction and then back into the other direction as you're able. Now bring it back into stillness, and in doing so, again, reassert the tabletop position, lifting your chest, slide the shoulders down the back. And as we do so, let's lift up through your right leg. Right heel flexes, hips stay on evenly square, and as you're able, reach your left arm forward, left thumbs up. That'll allow left shoulder to slide down the back, holding steady and strong from the crown of the head all the way down to that right heel. And for the challenge to the core, you might consider lifting your left foot up and breathing as you're reaching through, holding steady and strong, and one more breath here. When you release from the posture, come on back through center and circle your hips off the ribs again in one direction and then the other. From here, as you're able, shift your way back into that prayer yet again. You might still keep your hips up nice and high to decompress the low back, or simply shift your hips back onto your heels and allow the head to come down to the ground in the more traditional prayer posture. As Bob's demonstrating that for you, you can see his back is slightly rounded. Make sure that that feels good to you, and if it doesn't, simply resume the higher hipped prayer for decompressing of your back. And just one more breath here. And then as we release from this work, we'll start to shift into a standing position for our first efforts towards the sun salutation, Surya Namaskar.
So come to a standing position. We'll begin in Tadasana. Open the hips slightly, pelvis over the feet, belly lifts, low ribs over the pelvis, shoulders down the back, hands in Namaste position. From here we begin the sun salutation. Out of Tadasana, raise your arms, inhale. Will be 3 to 4 breaths per position. Exhale, pelvis settles, lower ribs lifts, scapula down the back, neck fits in. Couple more. Inhale, breathe steadily. Try inhale, exhale, lifting lower rib cage. One more breath. Inhale, steady. And exhale and open up back as much as your low back is willing to receive. And then release, hinge forward at the pelvis. Knees could bend liberally or slightly into the standing forward bend. Inhale. 3 exhales. Exhale, lift sitting bones. Reach out through the low rib cage. Fit the neck in. The chin tends to fly out. Bring it in slightly. Couple more. Steady, slow in. Inhale. Ujjayi inhale. And Ujjayi exhale. There's a movement through the pelvis, through the ribs. Of course, the hamstrings are stretched. One more breath. Inhale. Ujjayi inhale. And Ujjayi exhale. Finish the forward bend with this exhale. From here, we'll take our left leg back, the left knee down on the ground. The right knee's 90-degree angle. Drop the pelvis, lift the low ribs, this lunge, turning it into a bit of a back bend. The chest lifts. Inhale. Exhale. You could push off the thigh with your hand, or the arms could come up. One more breath. Inhale. Exhale. Open that left quadricep, scapula down the back. Open up, look up, and release the slow lunge into down dog. Hands forward, hook under left foot. Invert low belly up into the down dog position. We'll be here for 4 breaths. Inhale, let's bend left leg, and exhale, push through the right heel of foot, stretching your right calf. And then the second side, inhale, bend right knee. Exhale, push through the left heel of foot. Once more, back and forth. Push through the right heel of foot as the left knee bends. And the second side, the hips are lifted the whole while. Finish the down dog for this round. And then we're going to lower. We're going to make it easy. Come down onto the knees. And then lean forward. There's other transitions from dog to the cobra. You could be on your forearms if this is a bit much on your low back. So either one, forearms or hands as key is. On the inhale, you're steady. On the exhale, you're pulling out low ribs, shoulder blades down the back, neck like a cobra's neck. It hoods. And one more. Inhale, breathe steadily in. And exhale, and I'm just showing the more complete version as key is already there. And finish the cobra. Hook under with your toes into the down dog position. The main support muscle is low belly lifting. You could do slight variation, shifting a little bit. You could stretch the calf out as we did the time before. Ultimately, it's a shoulder opener. Down dog is a shoulder opener. We're trying to broaden the shoulders. One more breath. Inhale. And exhale and open into the down dog. Open your shoulders. Broaden that top shoulder blade area. From here, swing your left knee, left foot forward, just short of. Drop the pelvis. That left knee is a 90-degree bend. Low ribs lift up over the pelvis. 3 or 4 exhales. Exhale. Allow that right thigh to stretch, the quadricep to stretch, and a couple more. Inhale. Exhale. The arms could come up for the last breath. Inhale. And exhale and open to this lunge. Looking up. And then finish this position into the standing forward bend. On the exhale, invert the low belly. Back should be fairly flat, so don't take your head down. Come out with the low ribs. And exhale and re-pull out with the low ribs, and then let the hamstring stretch out. 2 more. Steady, slow in. Inhale. And reach through. 1 more. Steady, slow in. It's Ujjayi inhale. And Ujjayi exhale. Complete the forward bend here. And then start to come up. You'll bend your knees a little bit. Inhale, raise up. Exhale, pelvis over the feet. Low ribs up over the pelvis. Lengthen the low back as you take your arms back slightly. Scapula down the back. 1 more breath here. Inhale. And exhale and open upwards. And then release and hands down into prayer. We'll do 1 more round. There'll be just 1 variation. It'll be a warrior rather than the knee down. Inhale, raise up. 3 exhales. Exhale. Pelvis, lower ribs soared out. Scapula down and back. Fit the neck in. Take it back just slightly. Another one. Inhale. And exhale and pulse it through. Reach through. And then finish the back bend. Fold forward. And you can start to feel it. The body starts to loosen rather quickly. Inhale. Breathe through the ribs to the back. And exhale. Lower ribs pull out. Reach it through. Back as long as you can make it. And that might be up in here. 2 more. Steady, slow in. Inhale. And reach it through. 1 more breath. Inhale. And exhale. And finish the forward bend here. And from here we're going to take our right leg back with the right knee off the ground. This is a warrior position. Warrior 2 we call this. Square the pelvis. Lift the low ribs. Exhale, scapula down the back, head back a little bit, arm, head between the arms. 2 more, steady, slow in, inhale. Exhale, lower just a little bit, the back knee could be slightly bent or fairly straight. 1 more, inhale. And exhale, deepen by taking your arms up, back. Of course, it's the core that has to do that. And release into down dog. Hike up with the pelvis. 3 exhales where you're exhale, broaden that top shoulder blade area. Knees could bend as much as you need to be able to get that top shoulder blade area to open. 2 more, steady and slow in, inhale. And steady and slow out. Try to reach out through your arm somewhat. Your elbows are coming in gently. 1 more breath, steady and slow in. And exhale and hold the air out for just a moment. Go a little further into the down dog, like a dog or a cat. And then finish down dog. We'll come onto our knees and make that easy transition. Could be on your forearms. We'll both be showing it on our hands. Inhale. So the key is not to scrunch the low back. You're pulling out with the low ribs, trying to create a cobra-like look in the neck, with the shoulders and the head sorting out. 1 more. Inhale. And exhale. So hood up like a cobra, ready to engage. And finish the cobra into down dog. Hook under with your toes up into the down dog position. 3 exhales. Low belly lifts. Low scapula lifts secondarily. Shoulders broaden. Legs stretch out. Couple more. Steady, slow in. Any movements that feel good. Exhale. Open. The neck should fit into it. 1 more. Inhale. And exhale. So you're scanning the body and trying to open as much as you can. Shoulders, hamstrings. Now finish here in the down dog and swing your right knee forward. Bring it in towards the chest and forward with the knee. Open that right knee a little bit. The left knee could bend slightly as you come up with the torso and the arms. It's a balance challenge here at first. Once you find the steady balance, then you're opening up and back into the back bend that it is. Warrior number 2. 2 more breaths. Steady and slow in. And exhale, and you move through the pose as you exhale. It's a spreading of energy. 1 more. Inhale. And exhale, and deepen into it, spread through it, and release. And the back leg forward into the standing forward bend. 4, 3 exhales. Exhale. The sitting bones lift. The low ribs pull out a little bit, and then you fold over. 2 more. Steady and slow in. And steady and slow out. Last one in the forward bend. Inhale. And exhale, and go a little deeper into it to reach it through with your low back as well as your hamstrings. And finish. You come up. As you come up, bring the chin in slightly at first. You come up. You don't take it too deeply into the back bend yet. Make sure your low back's okay as you come up and back. And 1 more breath. Inhale. And exhale, and open to what your low back is ready to receive. As you can see with key, it could go pretty far. Likely you're more like me. And then come out into prayer. Namaste. And that's the finish of our sun salutations for now.
Allow yourself to come into standing mountain, and with it, open the arms to the sides of the body as you inhale. Exhale, collect your energy, bring it back home again, where it is you might make better use of it. Again, like this, inhale as you expand and open, and exhale, reground, recentering. And one more time like this, inhale. And exhaling. Now, having warmed up the body, we're going to start to focus in isolating different aspects of the core. Initially, allow yourself to resume your down dog practice, Adho Mukha Shivanasana. As such, allow yourself to turn sideways, go forward. And with your hands on the ground and the feet, feel free to bend the knees as much as necessary. So you can lift the tailbone up and back behind you. Elbows wrap in, so shoulders are broad, and as such, one more breath here. Now, as you release from the posture, lift up your head and start to slide your way forward. In doing so, keep your toes on the ground and keep the knees off the ground. Allow the pelvis to come forward and develop your way into the upward facing dog. Head and eye gaze is upward. From here, I'm going to have you lift up your left leg. Still keep the hips evenly squared and shoulders square as well. One more breath. When you release, let the left leg come down and lift up your right leg. Keep the hips evenly square, lengthening through the spine as you lift through the head and eye gaze. One more breath here. As you release, come on back down. And in doing so, press your way up and back, yet again in down dog. This time through in your down dog, allow yourself to deepen into the shoulder opening. Ears right between the arms. One more breath here. Then as you're able, let your two elbows come down to the ground in your forearm dog. If you need to lift up your heels, it's totally acceptable. If you look at your dog friends, you'll see their heels are never on the ground. If your hamstrings are tight, no problem. You've complete company with our dog world, in which the knees are always bent in the dog, and as such, allow yourself to experience that too. One more breath here. Now when you release, you might lift your way forward. Let yourself come again towards the plank position, the upward facing dog variation. And with it, come down onto your forearms and continue in this upward facing dog on your forearms. It's a forearm plank. Breathing as you're reaching through. Feel how the hips want to dump down like mine are right now. Instead, see if you can lift them up so you're neutral from the heels all the way to the shoulders. One more breath. From here, as you release, bend your knees and shift your hips back so you're back into your prayer position as we practiced earlier. Hips can be up high, decompressing the back, or down low as I'm now demonstrating with your hips back on the heels. Allow the head to rest down, and as such, one more breath. And as we release from the posture, we're going to shift into the challenging core work of plank and stick on our way to develop into a more complete expression of sun salutation in our ongoing development.
So let us try the plank and the stick. Come up into down dog. And so the plank and the stick, as Keith said, are used to transition from dog into cobra in the sun salutation, or they can be done on their own like we're going to do now. Start to come forward, plank. The body's like a plank, like a board. Straight through, long line between the heels of the feet, and right on through the neck. This is our plank pose. And then we come down, lower. The elbows bend, the plank of the body is maintained, so it's core, the belly's working, the scapula's working, and then all the way down onto the ground. Okay, now this may be for entertainment purposes. There's a sequence called crocodile, and I'm going to just show it for a short while. It comes out of the stick, the basic push-up, and from here you're going to jump forward, and jump forward, and jump forward. As I say, it might be entertainment value for you to just watch that. Okay, and then we'll come out and rest into prayer position. and breathe.
And now from here, as you're able, allow yourself to come up and over onto a seated position with your legs stretching forward. With your hands back by your hips, allow your fingertips to be pointing in the direction of the feet. And your hands in close by the hips. And as you do, you can press and lift your hips up, and the toes can come down to the ground, lifting the heart, lift the head, lift the eye gaze in this upward facing plank. Urdhva, one more breath. When you release, you can come on back down. From the seated Dandasana or staff posture, we're going to try a different variation. Some of us have a hard time with the fingertips pressing forward like that. As such, simply rotate your palms the other direction so your fingertips are pointing away from you. This asks us to open through the chest a bit more. And as such, as you're able, press down through the legs and lift the hips. Head and eye gaze up to the ceiling, opening the heart as you strengthen through the core of the body, keeping yourself up off the ground. And one more breath here. When you release, you can come on back down into your seated Dandasana, yet again, feeling the effects. It's possible for us from that position to lift up one leg at a time. It also might be challenging in terms of the greater effect required from the core of the body as such practice. And your own level of challenge, you can use the hands in one direction or the other as that works best for you. And then from here, as you lift up, gradually shifting into your left leg up to the ceiling. Keep the hips evenly square, breathing as you're reaching through. One more breath here. As you release, left leg comes down. The tendency is for the pelvis to sag. Instead, lift it up and lift up your right leg. Keep the hips evenly square as you breathe and reach through. And one more breath here. When you release, come on back and down. And again into your seated Dandasana. And doing so, feel the effects, invigorating to the chest and the heart, and opening through the shoulders. And one more breath here. Now we're going to see if we can come into a different kind of upward facing plank. This is more of an upward facing tabletop position. In doing so, I'll have you take your hands onto the ground and turn your fingertips back behind you. From here, bend your knees and walk your feet in a little bit. And then as you're able, you're going to lift your hips up. You want to find a straight line from the crown of the head all the way down to the knees. Pelvis is lifting and breathing as you're reaching through in this upward facing tabletop. And one more breath. Now as you release from the posture, come down with your pelvis and then come down onto your back. In doing so, hug your knees into the chest. And this is our wind relieving posture. Breathing as you reach through, allowing yourself to stretch through the low back just a little bit. And one more breath here. Now as you release from the posture, take your fingertips onto your knees. Press the knees away from the chest, so knees are lined up directly over the hips. As you're here, initially your low back will be off the ground. The effort now for the core is to press your navel through the spine down to the ground without changing your knee angle. Then from here, inhale and release. Low back comes off the ground in its neutral lumbar curve. Trying it again, keep the knees over the hips. Exhale and depress the abdomen toward the spine and the spine to the ground without changing that leg angle. Inhale and release. And one more time like this. Exhaling, navel to the spine and the spine to the ground. And holding it steady and strong as you do so. And one more breath. Now as you release from the posture, hug your knees back into the chest. We're going to be building upon that as we work next into the psoas and its strengthening, working in this aspect of the core. Doing so, I want you to still diminish the hyperextensive likelihood in the low back by still keeping that sense of the lumbar depression working for you. As such, take your legs up to the ceiling. Flex your heels and turn the toes open. From this space, draw your navel into the spine towards the ground, and inhaling, lowering your right leg toward the ground. Now exhale, press your tailbone down, Lift your right leg back up. Now try it on your second side. Inhale as you lower your left leg downward. Exhale, press down the tailbone and lift your left leg up. Now you might need to continue at that level, or if you're able, join me now as we inhale and lower both legs downward. Still keeping the navel into the spine to the ground. Then exhale, press the tailbone down to lift back up. Inhale as you're lowering the legs downward. Exhale, press down the tailbone and lift back up. 2 more times like this for our purposes. Inhale as you're lowering. Exhale, press down the tailbone, lift the legs back up. And once again, inhale as you lower. You could still be working 1 leg at a time if you prefer. Otherwise, exhale, press down the tailbone and lift your way back up. From here, give yourself just a brief pause, holding the knees into the chest. If you prefer, you could continue to work in that way for several more repetitions. Wanting to offer you an alternative way to strengthen through this aspect of the core of the body, next with 3 incrementally challenging angles. Starting with your legs up to the ceiling yet again, the heels flex and the toes turn open. From here, lower the legs by about 30 degrees. In this way, we're challenging ourselves by holding steady and strong. As such, you might just turn your palms upward facing. Otherwise, they want to grip and take the challenge in the chest. See if you can keep it in the core of the body instead. As you're able, let's lower by another 30 degrees. If this angle becomes too challenging, you'll quite naturally seek another angle that is more acceptable to you. And as such, doing so without recruiting through your chest, still keeping your hands nice and quiet. 1 more breath here. Now as you lower by another 30 degrees just about, flexing the heels, turning the toes open, exhaling as you're reaching through, still drawing the navel into the spine and the spine to the ground, and 1 more breath like this. Now as you release from the posture, come on back, hugging the knees into the chest, and shift your hips just a little bit side to side.
We're going to continue the core work by bringing it up into the neck. So while on your back, legs are stretched out, just at ease on the ground. And we're going to raise our skull just slightly. Now the hair is still touching normal cervical curve. So we're not like this. This is not good for your neck. Chin in slightly, lengthening as much as you can. As you exhale, re-lengthen space between the ears and the shoulders, shoulder blades down the back. We need core neck strengthening for head forward syndrome and many other problems that ensue from the computer. Exhale, 1 more breath, reach through, and then head down, rest, let your head turn one side to the next, just ease out the work that was just done in the neck. And then take a couple, 3 breaths. We're going to do the neck strengthener 1 more time, and this time we'll be turning the head from one side to the next. Raise your skull slightly. Again, the hair grazes, even my hair grazes. Chin gently in. Now from here, turn towards the right. You're working the left side of the neck muscles. The right ear slightly off the ground, both shoulders down the back, lengthen the neck as you turn slightly. And then come out of that one side, take it to the other side. Challenging to work on the neck. Turning left, scapula down the back, strengthening right side of the neck, and then back to center, and then head down. From here, let's bend the knees, bring the knees in, and then take your hands onto the skull and just stretch your neck out after the work. Take a moment here, whatever feels good. Okay, from here we're going to do some side-to-side stomach churning. And there's 3 degrees that we'll be working. First degree is both knees bent and swinging the 2 knees off to the one side. This is an easy position. Arms are outstretched to the side. Feet are off the ground to start. And then we're swinging, as you see, key is already there. Just an easy swing over to the right. The left abdominal muscles are pulling back. Just feel how that happens, because as it gets harder with those straight legs, you'll want the correct action. And then come on up. Good for the low back here. Swing your knees to the left. Both knees swing over, and the right belly wraps back, wrapping back into the right scapula. It draws down. The head could turn and look back right. And another breath. Exhale. Just pretty easy. Okay, and then come up. Now we're going to straighten the left leg, and the knees are still together. You're going to swing both knees over to the right, like the first position. However, now the top leg is straight, and you're still trying to coordinate the movement of the pelvis going down and the scapula wrapped on the left side. We look back left, and one more breath. Feel the left abdominal muscles wrapping back, and then come out. Bend that left knee, the top knee, bend both knees together, and then the second side. The right leg straight, the knees still together. You come across to the left with that right leg, the pelvis down, away, right belly wrapping back. Typically, one side of the belly is weaker than the other, and so work that right belly back. You can look back right, and one more breath. Reach through, stomach turning, and then in. Take that right knee, bend it, come in. Now this next one, the third degree of difficulty, is a lot more difficult. Take your legs vertical. Now you can always bend the knees somewhere in here, somewhere between well bent and fairly straight. We're going to show fairly straight. Shift your pelvis slightly left. Take both legs over towards the right. You're wrapping back. You want the belly to stay contained within as you wrap back. And then a couple more breaths. You could look back, left, reach. It's good for the low back. One more. Wrap back. And then come out and bend both knees. Ease out for a moment. And then the second side. Both legs vertical. The heels of the feet, you're pushing through them. Shift the pelvis slightly towards the right, and then your legs are going left. As you go left with the legs, they're approximately perpendicular to the body. They're coming across the body. Wrap back with your right belly. You could look back right. And one more breath. Exhale, wrap back, stomach churning pose. You're churning your stomach back to the right. And then release and come in. Hold the knees, rest in any position that feels good. Here's the natural position to rest in. Continuing the core work, we're going to do low boat and high boat and back and forth. While you're on your back, take your legs up, turn your feet open, and then lower your legs to a working position off the ground. That could be 1 foot off, it could be 3 feet off. Raise your skull slightly. This is low boat. Lengthen between the feet and the head. As you exhale, create space. Couple more breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Reach it through as you exhale. And one more. Inhale. Exhale. Working your neck and your belly. And then head down and knees in. Rock a little bit with the knees. And we're going to rock up to a seated position. Come to a seated position. High boat. Hold behind the back of the knees. Raise the feet off the ground and then raise up with your legs. Legs fairly straight. A little ease in the knees. Now try to pull yourself forward, and you're going to release your hands from the back of the knees and maintain the height. The knees could be well bent here or straight. Of course, straight is much harder. Trying to keep the boat up. Don't capsize the boat. Reach through. And one more. On the exhale, lift up. This is intensive on the quadriceps, but ideally you're getting the belly to work. And then rest for a moment in a seated position. You could purposefully round, just to stretch out a little. Okay, then we're going to go back and forth between the high boat, which we just did, and the low boat, which we did before that. Hold the hamstrings, the back of the knees, raise up. The knees could be quite bent if you need that. Release your arms here. And then you're going to lower your torso and your legs so you're about a foot off the ground with both. And then come up. You could bend the knees and pull off the knees to get up. Lift up. Twice more. Exhale, lower. Reach through and up. And then one more time. Exhale, high boat to low boat. And then head down. Bring the knees in. Rock a little bit, whatever feels good.
Now working towards the back body core, allow yourself to come up and over onto your belly. Go forward to the pink and green. With your hands behind the back. Initially just lift up the tailbone a tiny bit and then come on back down with it. Try that a couple of more times. Just the tailbone nods up, not the hips rearing up like this. Pelvis is neutral, with just the tailbone lifting and then release. Try it one more time. Just lift the tailbone up. Finding that, release it back down. Now we're going to build upon that. As you do so, lift the tailbone, lift the head and the chest, and breathing as you're reaching through, lifting up the legs, head and eye gaze is neutrally forward. And one more breath here. As you release from the posture, come on back down, and you might turn the head to one side or the other. Now that's the base position. We're going to continue with a few different variations, and as such, as Bob lifts his tailbone, he'll take the hands behind the back and lift the head and the chest, and lifting the legs off the ground. Initially, as the arms are just reaching back behind you, that's one sensation of engagement. As such, one more breath here, and then we'll vary it, taking now the hands together behind the back, so interweaving the fingers, asks us to retract the scapula and to slide the scapula down the back, strengthening that aspect of the shoulder girdle. And one more breath here. Keeping the lift as Bob is, he'll develop now his arms to the sides of the shoulders. And with it, we can again bend the elbows so that we can retract the scapula so shoulders are sliding down the back, strengthening in the ability to keep the shoulders back and down, helping to offset so much time spent on screen or driving. As such, one more breath here. Now still keeping the shoulders down the back as Bob is, even though those arms are reaching forward. And the arms reaching forward, if we wrap the elbows in, shoulders can slide down the back. And as such, lots of other variations, but these are a few to highlight to bring through greater strength in the core of the body, and as such, release back down and turn the head to one side or the other. You might shift your hips just slightly side to side so you're easing out the low back. Make sure that all is feeling well. And one more breath here. Now when we release, we're going to start to come up into a standing position for some deep core cleansings of the body. This in a sequence that we will be building up to towards what is called Nali. Initially, as you come up into a standing position, you might use your hands on your thighs, hinging at the hips as you fold forward. With the exhalation, Bob will then start to lift his diaphragm up. And with the diaphragm lifting, you can see the rib cage expanding. The head still stays neutral so that the back is not sacrificed. And the belly buries up deeply within the upper rib cage. And then when you release, you can come on back up to standing and allow yourself to take a break. Now as I come into it and you observe, Bob will be giving you a few of his additional comments.
The Sanskrit term is Uddiyana Bandha. It's a bandha. At the end of the exhale, the diaphragm lifts, the shoulder blades down the back. You see the widening of the ribs. Chin is in slightly, Uddiyana Bandha. And then as you inhale, we're releasing. And now we're going to shift from there towards the Nali.
By coming through the Agnisari. As such, next as Bob exhales all the air out, he'll again lift the diaphragm up. And with the diaphragm lifting and the shoulders back and down and neutral through the neck, you start pumping the belly in and out. The whole abdomen is able to move in and out with this deep cleansing as we're alternately engaging the corseting muscles of the anterior abdomen and releasing them as we need to. Now, as Bob describes it, he might bring through a little bit more of the detail of the separation of rectus abdominis from the obliques, developing through one stage at a time.
All the air goes out. It starts as the Uddiyana Bandha. Then the rectus abdominis is isolated. That's these two muscles here, in and out just on the rectus abdominis. The other abdominal muscles holding back. You see it? Isolating rectus abdominis. In, out, in, out, in, out. And then we inhale. So that's a better version of the Agni.
Sorry. It's the next version, let's say. Now from here I'm going to have you come up into a standing position. You can take your hands on your hips, shift your body weight to one leg, lift up the opposite leg. Shift the weight and lift the opposite leg. Shift and lift, shift and lift. And you can observe as Bob is shifting and lifting. One side is required to hold you upright as you start to shift to the other side. So shift the body weight and lift the other leg. And doing so, now Bob's whole left side is required to keep him upright. It's in this way we start to turn on one side of the core at a time so that over time we can shift our Agnisari side to side with that pumping action. And it might look like this for either one of us.
So okay, we'll do the shifting. While the shifting's happening, you've got to release on the one side, then release the other. Shift, release, shift, release. One side of the rectus is popping open, the other side is held back. There's the nulli, the beginning of the nulli.
And as Bob takes that same action, he exhales the air out. He lifts the diaphragm up. And he starts the process of shifting side to side. You can see how he uses the arms to get the shift on one side and then the other. Slowly differentiating one into the other until he can start to coordinate. And now he's circling through, starts to circle through the hips, protruding forward as the other side draws back.
Difficult. Watch key. Diaphragm lifts, and then the beautiful circling that happens. There's a rhythm to it. You can see it's quite mesmerizing, very cleansing. And you will do it one more time. Nowly. All the air goes out. The air is held out the whole while. The diaphragm lifts, and then we begin the process. One side of the rectus abdominis, the other is a rolling action, a rolling action, a rolling action. And this is our nulli, very cleansing for the belly.
Now, as you start to bring it to conclusion, you might just allow yourself to take your hands onto your belly and appreciate every mouthful that you've had to digest, as well as assimilate the nutrients and eliminate the rest. And in doing so, allow yourself to be more selective here, and it makes it easier down here. From the spaces you're able, take it into a seated position, allowing your legs to be comfortable with the knees at the same height as the pelvis. And in doing so, in the seated position, feel your way into being upright and vertical all the way through to the crown of the head, with the ears right over the shoulders right over ribs, and ribs over hips. Taking it into a little of the pranayama that is associated with this kind of core intensity, we'll start to come into some Bhastrika breathing. And as such, we'll inhale through both nostrils and exhale, expel the breath like this. And as Bob continues, and I give my words to the practice, you can clearly observe his belly drawing back and back and back and back, with the focus on each exhalation, working at your right pacing. And as such, 3 more, and then exhaling, and inhale as you're able to. Pausing to notice the effects as Bob takes the voice for a second round.
It's energizing. Let's do it a second round, and I'll be the voice as Keith proceeds. The timing can be very different. It can be much slower or faster. Each exhale, abdominal muscles go back. Exhale, inhale, belly out. Exhale, belly back. Inhale, belly out. Exhale, belly back. And then in rapid succession, about 1 per second, back on the exhale, in, release. The exhale is the active action, inhales releasing. Working on the third chakra, abdominal area. And a few more. Try to sync up the 2 sides. And then 1 more, we'll inhale. And exhale slowly.
So allow yourself to notice the changes that have occurred within your soul, mind, and body, and from this space. Namaste.